Hello everybody and welcome back to another installation of And She Rants. Today I'm continuing a series that I'm doing on coding boot camps, and the series is called Is a Coding Bootcamp Right for Me? For those of you who don't know, I did a coding bootcamp in 2016 and I quit my job, I moved to Los Angeles, I did the coding bootcamp, learned to do iOS development, and eventually ended up in a job as a release engineer at a tech company. Now, the confusion that a lot of people have is that they feel as though I'm doing iOS development at my job. I'm not. I know how to code, but I do not code every day at work. And that has been something that I've realized is explicitly the way that I was able to get a job in engineering very quickly. I had to understand the skills that I gained from my coding bootcamp, apply those to the skill set I already had from past work experience, and then combine those to then apply for jobs that seemed right for me. The answer for me was I need to get a job quickly because money. But for other people, they may say, hey, I actually want to be a developer. If you watched my last video, I talked a little bit about the questions you need to ask yourself if you're deciding, oh, I want to learn to code, I want to be a developer. Now, today's video is more about my own opinion of whether or not you should actually enroll in a coding bootcamp. Last time I talked a little bit about the questions to ask yourself, like your learning style, can you afford it? Those kinds of questions that are really important as you're considering a bootcamp. Now, I want to kind of apply the experience that I've had and what I've seen coming out of that to say my opinion on why you really shouldn't enroll in a boot camp. I know it's interesting to hear from me. I had somewhat of a success story. I'm working in engineering, I'm getting a tech salary. I know how to code now, and there's a world of opportunities in front of me, all because I decided to enroll in this boot camp. But I think that there are some specific things about the boot camp world that kind of make me say, I'm not sure if I would recommend this for somebody else. And I'm not sure if I thought it through fully, I would do it the exact same way again next time. Do I think the coding bootcamp was beneficial to me? Absolutely. Would I do it again the same way? Maybe, probably. Would I recommend it to someone else? Absolutely not. And there are three reasons why I'm kind of against the coding bootcamp sphere and why I don't really recommend it. The first reason is that there is a very selective group of success stories coming out of coding bootcamps. In my experience, that 99% success rate that they say for people finding jobs just isn't true. It's not true. And if it is true, the timeline for that is incredibly stretched and under exaggerated. Like, people don't really let you know how long it really takes for you to find a job as a developer when you come out of a boot camp. I remember seeing so much about the promise of, some boot camp models are like, we don't even take money from you until you get your job, like blah, blah, blah. There's just a bunch of ways that they kind of make it seem appealing and make it seem like, oh, this is definitely a way that I'll end up finding a career, finding a job, finding opportunities. But the truth is, very few people actually get technical roles when they're coming out of a bootcamp, and very few people end up as developers in the language that they learned. I went to an iOS development bootcamp. I got a job as a release engineer at a tech company. Those are different things. Did the bootcamp help me get the job? Absolutely. Am I doing what I learned in the bootcamp? Absolutely not. I don't write code for iOS development at all at my company. I learned to write in Swift. That is not what I do. And honestly, I don't even really code at my job. And so there's a lot of confusion about what comes out of coding bootcamps. And there's a lot of confusion of what the benefits are. I'm very, very grateful for learning the skill set because now I can code. Now I can build apps. Now when I'm working on my own projects or when I'm thinking about what I want to do next, I have the ability to, lay the groundwork for myself and kind of have an understanding of what's going on and what the background is. And as I continue to work in engineering, there's a lot of knowledge that's being built on top of that, just about, different infrastructure and also like what it means to run an engineering organization. But at the same time, I knew within like the first few weeks of the boot camp that whatever job I got, though technical, was not going to be what was being advertised to me when I decided to enroll in the boot camp. And so you have to be conscious of that. And one of the reasons I don't really support boot camps is because there's this false narrative. I'm sorry. There's this false narrative of what happens to people when they leave boot camps, and it's just not realistic. The second reason why I'm not a huge advocate for boot camps and I'm kind of against them, like I don't really mess with that, is because I don't believe in the boot camp business model. There's not really a way to be in integrity with what you promised the students who enrolled when you have a boot camp. One of the examples I often give is Dev Bootcamp. It was one of the first, if not the first, coding bootcamp that was very, very committed to teaching their students with quality. And they ended up shutting down like last year. I think it was sometime in 2017. When they shut down, I was very sad because it felt like not just the end of Dev Bootcamp, but the end of integrity with the bootcamp model. You know, all over you see so much dream selling. So much dream selling and promises that just are making a company money by taking yours. Like it's literally like they are benefiting from you saying, oh, I can spend $15,000 today and make $110,000 next year, or $150, whatever it is. They bank on you being excited about that, but you know, you don't really realize how long it takes to kind of gain the skill set that deserves that quality of income and deserves that opportunity. And so you kind of think, I'm going to go in here and leave and have a good opportunity. And you actually go in and you're like, I don't know when the money's going to come. I might have to take this contract position right now because that's really all I can do. And the contract position may just be a job at this company that I like while I'm building my technical skill set to get to the level where I can actually be a developer at that company. Like there's so much more that goes into learning to code than those 3 months in a boot camp. Sometimes some of them are 6 months, I hear that, but like still, whatever period of time it is, there's just so much more because some of these people have 4-year CS degrees from schools all over the country. So I think the business model of, you know, we take your money as an investment and then, you know, like you're getting way more from the companies that we send you to. There's not even the right infrastructure set up for people to support you in getting those job opportunities. Like I don't even really believe in that system that they have set up of the people who help you with your outcomes. Like there's just, I was very, very disappointed. I was very disappointed with what I got for the amount of money that I paid because I value a quality education. I feel like I've been very, very privileged in my life to receive quality education consistently, and this was a time where I knew it's just not meeting the bar of what's required for what you promised me was going to happen. So you have to be a double, triple, quadruple go-getter in order to get opportunities coming out of a bootcamp, particularly if you're at one where there are multiple locations, multiple sites, and it just is a business model of learning, and it's not just specific about the skill set that you're learning. There's less investment there because there's just the investment is spread across a lot of different modules and teaching, and that some aren't even about tech and some are just about whatever. So you have to be very careful of where you're going, and you have to interrogate if you're deciding, oh, I think I want to do a bootcamp. You have to interrogate the bootcamp that you're considering going to and say, is this business model something that I believe in? Do I think that these people are exploiting me, or do I actually feel like they've demonstrated through their programming and through their outcomes that they are invested in what actually happens for the students who attend this program? The third reason why I wasn't a huge fan of the boot camps and I don't necessarily advocate for people going to them is there is a huge bias when it comes to coming out of a boot camp as your main source of knowledge, technical knowledge. I am not one who says just because people are biased against you and you come from a non-traditional background, you should feel uncomfortable and back down and I'm not that type of person. I'm used to having to do extra work. I'm not unfamiliar with the position of being the underdog and having to prove myself so that I can outperform them to prove that I belong, because that is very specific, you know, when brown skin. So coming from a non-traditional background, it's not that I feel uncomfortable with not having the same education, though that is a thing for people. It's kind of the truth behind the stark difference in the 4-year CS degree from some of these people who went to schools all over the country, Ivy League students coming out saying, I have a 4-year CS degree, and I have this boot camp that I did that was like 3 months. And while I applied everything I could to learn, the knowledge gap is wide and vast. And that is why people do not get necessarily the same opportunities coming out of wherever it is that they're coming out of, whatever bootcamp it is that they're coming out of, and trying to get jobs. You're competing with people who have way more experience than you. And then you get into the world and there's some stuff that you just don't know, because how could you? You had 6 months versus their 4 years and their 3 internships, and you just had 6 months and maybe 1 contract position. You're really like coming at it from just way less experience. And while you can succeed coming from that position, I just think there's a huge bias there, and it's there for a reason. And I think you're just at a disadvantage. You're just at a disadvantage coming into the industry. And it's not like you would have less of a disadvantage if, say, you learned and you taught yourself. I'm not discouraging anyone to learn to code. You may not attain that same breadth of knowledge even if you're teaching yourself to code, but the difference is that you didn't pay $15,000 for someone to tell you you'll be on the same level as someone that you cannot, you know? So I think a lot of it is just the principle behind it. And that bias that exists that is kind of uncomfortable and does kind of put you in a position where you're constantly just like, yeah, I deserve to be here. Yeah, I deserve to be here. Yeah, I can learn this thing. But you're like, I deserve to be here because I've demonstrated that I'm smart enough to catch up. Meanwhile, you had 4 years and I had 3 months, and I'm going to catch up and surpass you. And that's kind of the mindset that you have to have in order to be successful coming out of a boot camp. So all the people that you see around you who have been successful coming out of boot camps, you better congratulate, you better salute, you better acknowledge that literally their experience that they had coming from such a disadvantage and still being successful is an incredible feat, and it's difficult because the odds are against them, okay? These are all the reasons why I'm kind of just like, I can't really get down with that. I can't really get down with the boot camp business model. It's not my thing. That is the last of the negativity that I'm going to give you in the following series. I'm going to tell you all a little bit about why or how to be successful in the boot camp and how to find success in terms of outcomes and what kind of jobs to look for and the ultimate opportunities that will be available to you as you're coming out of boot camps, and how to kind of figure out how to take the skills that you learn in the boot camp and the skill set that you had already in the job experience, how to apply that and find the right opportunity for you afterwards. So stay tuned for more information from me. Thanks for tuning in and watching. Like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. There's a lot of opportunity for you out there, so just pay attention to what's around you. I guess that's it. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for the next rant.